Good morning, Europe. Thank you for joining us on this Easter Monday, the 18th of April. Let's begin by looking at our top stories.
Fighting to the end, the Ukrainian forces still inside Mariupol reject Moscow's surrender or die ultimatum, despite being encircled by Russian forces. The time is up for Russian and Belarusian lorries to leave the EU, but kilometers of queues and hours of waiting have left many blocked at the Polish-Belarusian border. And tens of thousands of people with disabilities, as well as the elderly, have been displaced since the start of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, leaving many vulnerable.
Fighting to the end, Ukrainian forces are holding out inside the shattered city of Mariupol. They have rejected Russia's ultimatum to surrender or die, a decision that may lead to an attack at any moment in this strategic enclave. They also fear that Russia will now restrict access to the city. In his nightly address, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy called for more weapons and reiterated that he is not willing to cede territory in the east to end war.
Russian forces are destroying Mariupol. They want to wipe it off the face of the earth, along with other places in the Donetsk and Luhansk regions. We are in constant contact with our partners. We are grateful to those who sent help, truly grateful. But those who have the weapons and ammunition we need and are holding them back, they must know that the fate of this battle also depends on them. The fate of the people is at stake.
Russian shelling continued on Sunday over Kharkiv, killing at least 5 people and injuring 13. Acts of deliberate terror, according to Zelenskyy, who said that in the last 4 days alone, 18 people have died in Ukraine's second largest city, where officials claim several villages have been liberated. But Ukraine is already thinking of post-war reconstruction. The president has spoken with the International Monetary Fund about the country's financial stability. The IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva said continued economic support by Ukraine's partners is essential. The European Commission has announced additional humanitarian funding of 50 million euros to support those affected by Russia's invasion, including 45 million for humanitarian projects in Ukraine and 5 million for Moldova.
This is what's left of the village of Andriivka, some 60 kilometers northwest of Kyiv. Under Russian occupation for a month, it was freed 2 weeks ago. Well, the level of destruction here is really impressive. There isn't one house that has been spared in this village. And in many places we can see this sign, this question mark, which just indicates that there could still be unexploded devices in the houses like mines or bombs, and there's still plenty around. At least 40 people were allegedly killed here by Russian soldiers. Only 6 were buried recently in the village cemetery. They were exhumated from gardens where their relatives had buried them, like Mykola's son, Yuri.
They came, told them to come out of the house. He and his wife came out of the house with guns to their heads. They let his wife go. She said, "I have 2 kids, don't kill me." And they shot him. And this is where his blood was. There was a blood stain here.
Yuri was among several who were killed after Russian tanks were attacked by the Ukrainian forces.
They accused them of giving away the column through their phones. It's been 44 days. I don't have any more tears. What can I do? A father has to bury his son. The most important thing is that he didn't betray Ukraine. That is the most important thing.
It will take weeks until many more families in the village are able to give their relatives a final resting place. Valery Goria, Andriivka, Euronews.
Oksana Rovenchuk immigrated from Ukraine to Greece 25 years ago. She lives in Athens and works in a hospital. The 58-year-old could never have imagined that one day she'd welcome her daughter and her 2 grandchildren as war refugees. 6 weeks ago, the young mother and her sons left the city of Kolomaya while her husband was left behind to fight. The children were registered in a Greek school.
We live in very difficult times. I can describe our lives in 3 words: bombings, misery, refugees. Nobody expected this could happen in 2022. The Greeks embraced my children and I thank them so much. My children are quite happy and already have new friends. The teachers and pupils have welcomed them.
Alexei and Konstantin are in 3rd and 5th grade of primary school. The Greek language is their biggest challenge. All of a sudden, the boys can't understand what their teacher says. Yet technology offers a way out.
With this application, we have Ukrainian and Greek. Apart from translation and spelling, the child can listen to how a word is pronounced. It is very useful.
When it was announced Ukrainian children would join the school, the teachers decided to talk with students about the war and what it means to be a refugee.
We talked to our children about the war between Ukraine and Russia, so they knew what was going on. The Greek children offered gifts to their new classmates, paintings and all their love. At first, the 2 brothers were a little shocked because they suddenly found themselves in the spotlight. They felt like little fish out of water.
It's time for a break, followed by gymnastics, where words are no longer so important. Schools are asking the Ministry of Education to hire Ukrainian-speaking teachers for at least 2 classes a week.
In the last 2 months, Greek schools have registered more than 450 children from Ukraine. Although they still do not speak the language, although they find it difficult to communicate, children feel that they have found a big embrace full of support and solidarity. Apostolos Staikos, Euronews, Athens.
Three people have been shot in the Swedish city of Norrköping in the 4th consecutive night of rioting in the Scandinavian country. Disturbances have raged since extreme right-wing leader Rasmus Paludan decided to burn a Quran on Thursday evening in the city of Linköping. Around 200 counter-protesters gathered there as police guarded Paludan. 3 officers were later hospitalized in the ensuing disturbances. It's fired many up in Sweden, especially within its large Islamic community. Violent opposition erupted in many cities nationwide to other planned rallies by Paludan and his far-right Stram Kurs group, which translates to hardline in English. On Saturday, it was the turn of Malmö in the south of the country. This car attempted to drive through a riot barrier. The driver was later arrested for attempted murder. And in the night, angry youths set fire to vehicles as they expressed their rage. In the morning, the scars of Sweden's increasingly fractious race and religious relations were plain to see. Authorities have refused to ban Paludan's rallies, citing free speech grounds. Many countries in the West are struggling to define what constitutes hate speech and what is acceptable speech. Here in Sweden, that battle is playing out in reality rather than in debate.